Namaste everyone. Krishna Kumar Ji always used to say that his flagship institution, Arya Vaidya Pharmacy or AVP, stands for Achar Vichar Prachar. Achar means practicing Ayurveda, Vichar means thinking or developing one's own thought process in Ayurveda, and Prachar means spreading Ayurveda or globalizing the science. He believed that his purpose in life was Achar Vichar Prachar of Ayurveda and other Indian systems of knowledge. And he lived by that principle and urged those who were drawn to him to do so. It was Krishna Kumar Ji's vision to Prachar Ayurveda for everyone who seeks the knowledge. Since taking charge of AVP Group, he managed to put Ayurveda in front of the world as a science by supporting research activities and encouraging educational programs, as well as standardizing medicine production and Ayurvedic treatments via multiple institutions of excellence. He has always been our guide, mentor, and he inspired and supported us to push the envelope in all ways to move Ayurveda forward. Even after his loss 1 year ago, we are committed to take his legacy forward, to see his plans through, and to realize his vision. Let's start with a prayer.
Shruti Smriti Puranokta Dharma Margaratham Gurum Bhaktanam Hidavaktaram Namasye Chitta Shuddhai Advaithananda Bharidam Sadhuna Bhagarina Sarvashastra Vidham Shantam Namasye Chitta Shuddhai Karma Bhakti Jnana Marga Prajari Bhaktatam Ganam Anugraha Pradataram Namasye Chitta Shuddhai. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Welcome to Prachar, inspired by Krishna Kumar Ji to mainstream Ayurveda and other Indian knowledge systems globally. Organized by Ashirvad Health and Education Trust and Sharanya Ayurveda Hospital, supported by the Arya Vaidya Pharmacy Coimbatore Limited and Ashirvad Ayurveda Pharmacy. A 7-day webinar to get to know leaders of Ayurvedic movement and innovation from across the globe, challenges and possibilities according to them in the education and practice of Ayurveda in their respective countries. On day 6, we are joined by Dr. Valdis Pirax, Dr. Parthasarathy R, Ms. Margaret Motta, Dr. Lucia De Vicente, Ms. Leila Dessa, and Dr. Somit Kumar. Thank you, dear sirs, for joining us. We welcome you to Prachar. They will be introduced to you in detail by our moderator. Our moderator for today is Dr. Rohini G. Varriar. She grew up literally in the lap of Ayurveda. Her mother, being an esteemed Ayurvedic physician and academician, inspired her to learn Ayurveda. She did her BMS from PNM Ayurveda College, Shoranur, and MD in Dravya Guna from Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Bangalore. She is an academic Ayurvedic traditionalist who wishes to bring back glorious days of Arka Shastra. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Srija. Sri Guru Bhyo Namah. My first memory with Krishna Kumar Ji was during my graduation day, when he asked us to show our gratitude to our parents before we wore the graduation hat. Later in my life, when my friend and I had some ideas about producing and mainstreaming the Arka Kalpana, we had only one person to approach, and it was him. He was always a champion for those who wanted to take Ayurveda forward. He gladly heard us, employed us, and gave us all moral, financial, and institutional support. Currently, Arkams are one of the regular medicines at our hospital, all thanks to him and his belief in the pure Ayurveda. Bowing before his memories, we'll start with the session. So before going to the sessions, to the participants, kindly put the questions you have for the speakers as they speak in the chat. We would try to include them the maximum as the time permits. Today, we have with us a few physicians who have made their mark in the Ayurveda globally. Thanks to all of you for taking this great science to your countries in its purest form. Our first speaker is a veteran in the medical field, Dr. Valdes Pirac from Latvia. Dr. Valdes Pirac completed his graduation in medicine in 1990 from Riga Stradina University and continued his education in internal medicine from different universities. He is presently Professor of Medicine and Vice Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, Paul Stradon's Clinical University Hospital. He is also the Director of the Center of Complementary Medicines, University of Latvia, and also a member in the editorial board for Medical Journal, Experimental and Clinical Endocrinology and Diabetes. He has been honored by Distinguished Research Award 2003 of Kuwait Foundation for the Advancements of Science. We are quite excited to hear from you, sir, about the education and research on Ayurveda in your country and also some of your memories with Krishna Kumar Ji. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar, and thank you for having me among such a very valuable event. And personally, I have a really gratitude Krishna Kumar Ji for his vision and spiritual mentorship. I felt all the time since December 2014, when I somehow by chance visited Coimbatore, because my family had a holiday in Kerala, and I made a little bit sidestep and visited AVP in that occasion. And since that, I had to return again and again to Coimbatore to visit AVP, and mainly because of Krishna Kumar Ji. And every time when I visited him, I received a lesson of mentorship again. And I think most of you experienced this wonderful quality of Krishna Kumar Ji, to see immediately the person behind, the personality behind the appearance of the visitor, and he was able really to touch the soul and the mind of a person. That is my personal experience. We had many fruitful discussions regarding how to develop Ayurveda, not only in my country, in Latvia, but also to make a model for the rest of European countries, and probably we can propagate it beyond Europe. And we were talking about the so-called three-tier concept. So three-tier means there are three parts which should be united together, and any success in propagation of Ayurveda globally starts with a proper education of Ayurveda. And then education should be completed by research, and research should produce results which should be published and in peer-reviewed journals and discussed among scientists. And in order to get the recognition of Ayurveda globally, we need to learn how to speak the language of science. And in many cases, Ayurveda as an ancient science has a completely different language of science. All respect to Ayurveda, but we have always to make it understandable for other scientists and medical professionals. If we want to go outside of India to Western world and beyond. So, and finally, the third tier is medical practice and legislation, which of course is the main our task to change and to the whole medical environment, to make it more friendly to Ayurvedic method. And we are happy in Latvia that we have Ayurveda recognized as a medical specialty or as a method which could be practiced by Western MDs additionally to their everyday practice. But we also discussed with Krishna Kumar Ji that we should not start with a legislation, because we had several unsuccessful attempts to do it, but we should start with proper education and research. That should be in the core of the change. So what have we today in Latvia? We have existing and recognized so-called accredited program of Ayurveda teaching at the University of Latvia. And you see behind me that this is the main building of the university since 1862. Sorry. Sorry for this interruption.
Okay, sir. Thank you for rejoining.
And then we have a research project on randomized controlled Ayurvedic study on diabetes mellitus, which is already accepted at the Ministry of Ayush. And I should say that there is a big contribution of Krishna Kumar Ji in this success as well. And then we have a project which is still project, but we will proceed to that quite successfully, I think, in next 12 months. This is the creation of integrative medicine clinic in Riga. And we understand that Ayurveda should not be practiced separately and only by referral from the allopathic doctors. It should be together. So, and Ayurveda should be used as a part of the multidisciplinary team, treating the same person and the same patient. And finally, I want to also to thank Dr. Sumit Kumar and his team from AVP Baltic for very fruitful collaboration, and we are looking forward into the future to develop it. And then we have I have to also to thank all doctors and therapists in Mangarai and Navakarai, and for their fantastic efforts to educate our more than 100 medical doctors which visited those two camps. And I remember also personally how good was the treatment I received and the attitude I received. And thank you very much for this unforgettable experience, and especially the everlasting memory on Krishna Kumar Ji.
Thank you, sir. That was interesting to hear from you. I hope that you will be there online for the final moderator session. So please, thank you once again. And next, we have with us Dr. Parthasarathy R. Dr. Parthasarathy had his Ayurvedic education from AVP College and was heading International Training Academy at Patanjalipuri, Mangare, where he was the course director for many Ayurvedic educational programs organized in collaboration with the universities and organizations of many countries. He is currently heading Swami Dayananda Jayavarthanavelu Ayurvedalaya as a director and chief medical officer. He was honored with the prestigious title of ES Trust Guest by the National University of Medicine, Rosario, Argentina. Sir, can we please hear from you the influence of Krishna Kumar Ji in your growth and also the possibilities and challenges of Ayurveda in Latin America? Over to you, sir.
Guru Ganeshabhyam Namaha. Thank you so much. Thanks for the introduction and thank you so much for the opportunity as well. More than the opportunity, it's a great honor to be in this forum. Is it okay if I present a small slide?
Yes, sir. Please.
Yes, sir.
So in this 10 minutes, I'm just going to discuss in short or brief about Ayurveda in Latin America, possibilities and challenges. But before going to the topic, I have the great honor to share some memories with Krishna Kumar Ji. So, we have heard hundreds and thousands of people talking about the greatness of Krishna Kumar Ji. So there is nothing more for me to talk. And there is no time available to talk about his greatness. So we just wanted to share our perspective of what experiences we had with Krishna Kumar Ji. So he has always made us feel that he's our own Krishna Kumar Ji. It is not just we who had this feeling. He gave this feeling that it is their Krishna Kumar Ji for millions of people. I think every one of you here will second with me that everyone will get a feel that it is their own Krishna Kumar Ji, it is their own person. So that's the speciality of Krishna Kumar Ji. So I just wanted to share this favorite photo of him with our son. Another interesting incident I would mention is in February 2018, it was in a temple. It was a Dashavadaram temple on the outskirts of Coimbatore. Yes, of course, he has played so many roles in our life, being a guru, being a mentor, guide, well-wisher, and whatnot. He has taken all roles, possible roles in our life. But more than everything, he has taken we consider him as a father figure, and he also has played a father role in our lives. We always felt that, but we heard that in this temple. So he was doing some developmental activities. He was helping this temple people on some developmental activities. And we were blessed with an opportunity to do a small squirrel's job in this. So we happened to do that, and we were planning to go to the temple on February 2018. When we messaged him, he told that he will also join us on that particular day at 7:30 in the morning. He told his health was not good at that time, and we requested him better not to come. We will go to the temple and come and meet him. He told he was so particular that he will come and be with us in the temple. So that was a great moment for us, which is unexplainable. We don't have words to explain this. And he got down from his car, and the temple priests and people came to welcome him, and we were also standing there. So he introduced us, myself and Sharanya, my wife, he introduced us as his children. That is how he introduced us to those temple people. We couldn't control our tears. even now I cannot control my tears. So hearing that, so though we had the feeling that he is our father, so we could hear from him. So that's a moment which we can never forget in our life. Sometimes his love, care, and affection makes us feel that it is rather a mother's care or mother's love or mother's affection. I just wanted to mention the cream of few incidences, experiences with Krishna Kumar Ji, which made us feel the motherly love and motherly care. My first visit to Brazil in 2011. My wife was pregnant at that time, so I took a flight and I was there. She was feeling so lonely and a lot of confusions, a long flight, fear and things like that. Maybe the second hour after I left, she got a call from Krishna Kumar Ji telling that he has organized a puja in Dhanvantari temple on my name, and he had sent the prasadam back to her, telling that his safe will be good, it will be fruitful, don't worry, give me a call, come what may, whatever the reason is, don't hesitate, give me a call. That assurance he gave to Sharanya made a huge difference, because I was not I was away for 1.5 months nearly. So for the first time, I'm leaving the family, and so that's a special moment. And when our son was born, our family was living, actually our house was on a first floor. So he came all the way there, and we insisted that we'll bring our son down, because we did not want to make him struggle climbing the first stairs. We did not have a lift, but he was particular that he wants to climb those stairs, and he came home, visited our son. The experience that we had is like, it's unexplainable. Actually, I don't have words. I'm short of words actually. And every situation, every challenging situations that we had in the initial days of building up Mangarai, with all aspects, all challenging situations, this has been a consistent statement that I'm there behind you. There are some instances where we had to struggle and we had to do certain things. He gave us the confidence that I'm there behind you, go forward, go ahead, go forward, I'm there behind you. So that confidence that he is there behind us made us do whatever we thought of doing, and gave us the courage and confidence that we got is just because of this statement that I'm there behind you. Multiple times we have heard this. And in 2014, we were called from Swami Dayananda Saraswati's ashram. Swami Dayananda Saraswati himself requested to relieve us from AVP to their new venture to develop a new hospital in Anekati. So it was in 2014. So Swamiji spoke to Krishna Kumar Ji, and Krishna Kumar Ji was so gracious enough to immediately accept their request. And we were given a relieving order. And after that, in that relieving order, we were sent, both of us were relieved on a sabbatical leave actually. So 5 minutes after receiving this email from AVP, I got a call from Krishna Kumar Ji's personal mobile number. He called and asked me whether I read the relieving order from AVP or not. I told yes. And I really did not understand why we are relieved on a sabbatical leave, because the discussion was that we had to submit our resignation letter. It was the end of our tenure with AVP. That was the discussion. But the relieving order sounded different, that we are sent on a leave. So Krishna Kumar Ji told that we are sending you on a leave because you are going and starting a new venture. We don't know. Swamiji was on his late period of her life, late part of his life. We don't know what will be the fate of the ashram after Swamiji, how successful it will be, etc. Because of the management issues, there can be some problems. If at all you face any problem, you should not be stranded. You should be in AVP's role. You are directly back to AVP. I think if on what context he would have thought this and made this is something which we are really astonished even now, how could he thought about this? It's unexplainable actually. So he was carrying us that even if something happened in the new venture, we should not be stranded. We should have a place in AVP was his thought. So those are unexplainable memories that we have with him. And the last discussion that we had with him was on July 23rd, 2020, just a few days or months before his Samadhi. There, I was giving a lecture to Nanda Ayurveda College students, and accidentally, my son, who was 8 years old, was asked to chant Ashtanga Hridayam, chant the shlokas of Ashtanga Hridayam, and he did it by heart. And Krishna Kumar Ji was so moved with that. And the last thing he told us was not to send him to a regular school. Don't spoil him by sending him to the regular school. Either send him to a Gurukulam or you start a Gurukulam. I will be with you. I will be with you for your son's education. That was the last words that we heard from him. I will be with you, and definitely he is with us. We even now we don't feel his absence, though he's physically absent. We never ever feel his absence. He is with us, and we in fact seriously took this advice of Krishna Kumar Ji, and we have initiated the process of taking him out of the regular school, and for the next academic year he will not be in a regular school. He'll be in a Gurukulam. So it has already started with all Sanskrit and things like that. So his last advice to us, even the last advice to us, we have taken it seriously and we have acted upon it. So it's a blessing. Our inspiration from Krishna Kumar Ji to take authentic Ayurveda far and wide. So he made it very sure and very clear that the sole intention of this globalization is not to sell AVPs or not to sell Ayurveda. It is just globalization, make Ayurveda global. It is not promoting AVP or selling AVP products or promoting or nothing. It is just making AVP global. Ayurveda global. So that's a great learning from him. And even now, even in all the globalization projects and teaching assignments, I've kept this words or kept this motto very clean and clear, that it is not to promote our organization, it's not to promote anything else or sell something. It is to make Ayurveda global, make it globally accessible and reachable. And he also made, in this transition from our AVP to the current organization where I am, he insisted that we speak with our current management about our teaching assignments and continue our teaching assignments. And it is on his advice, I spoke to my current management about our teaching assignments in various countries, and they agreed to that, and I'm still continuing it. And I owe completely to Krishna Kumar Ji, because it is on his instigation, on advice, we could do it. He was very clear on, or his advice was very clear, to keep the authenticity of Ayurveda undiluted. And that advice was clean and clear, that I had kept that advice. I valued that advice as much as possible to my best of my capabilities. And with that advice, I could propagate Ayurveda in Brazil, Chile, Argentina, USA, UK, and France. Even after coming from AVP in 2000, physically we are away from AVP, but still we are there for all functions and things. Even now I refer AVP as my parent organization. So that is how physically we are not present in the organization, but we are always, our roots are with AVP for sure. And he was always with such questions, that how can we make this program? For example, if I'm on a lecture or on a project or a teaching assignment abroad, the discussions with him about that will be, his questions will be, how can we make it more productive? How can we make it more valuable? How can it be more useful? How can it be more comprehensive, having a spirituality also included in it? how can we make it more authentic? So these questions made us to polish our projects and assignments in a better way. It got a better shape. At the same time, on the contrast, he was also keen and he was also considering to keep those things little different, attractive and reachable so that it is not heavy for people to digest. And the key, the core concept or the core focus I got from all this associations with him is not just globalizing Ayurveda, it is making it is just localizing Ayurveda in a global platform. That is global localization over globalization. It is not just globalization. It is not just taking AVP products or Ayurveda products and making it available all over the world. Rather, making Ayurveda local in that region. So it's like global localization. It was not globalization. This global localization had created a huge impact, and this is the core focus that we have imbibed from Krishna Kumar Ji. That is, don't focus on globalizing medicines and things of Ayurveda, rather make it localized in that particular country, in that format. So this was in May 2019, we did a 10-day residential camp in Brazil with 20 participants from Brazil and Chile. I would definitely owe this to Krishna Kumar Ji, because the possibility we could do this because all this inspiration that we had received from him. This program started at 5 in the morning with the chanting, the Parayanam of the shlokas. As you see, the pujas done by a medical doctor from Chile. You can see him in his traditional wear doing a proper puja every day with the puja, Parayanam, chanting sessions early in the morning, and it went until 8 or 9 in the evening. So this 10 days of residential program, which is a mimicked program of a Gurukula model, which can happen even in Brazil. So this could happen only with the inspiration that we get from Krishna Kumar Ji. If not, definitely this would not have been possible. So coming to the possibilities and advantages of Ayurveda in Latin American country, I'm pretty sure that Latin America is going to be the next destination of authentic Ayurveda, for sure. Maybe there are various setbacks. When we think about various countries, there are setbacks. But in Latin America, there are not much setbacks for Ayurveda taking a tremendous shape in Latin America. It is going to be the destination for authentic Ayurveda. Maybe not now, not in the next few years. I'm talking about the next 30, 40 years. Ayurveda is going to take a very big shape in Latin America in an authentic way. I would owe that to a lot of similarities that we have between India and Latin America, especially with the climate. And this climate and fauna, flora, etc. is very with special reference to Brazil, I would say. Of course, Brazil, Chile, Argentina also have this, but especially Brazil has this speciality of having a similar climate and a diverse flora with rich medicinal plants and hundreds of common medicinal plants between India and Latin in Brazil, and local healing traditions being in place, and even the family bonding which I've seen people have in Brazil is quite similar to the family bonding that we have in India. So there are a lot of interesting connections that we have noticed between India and Brazil and Portuguese language, and even in sometimes in Spanish language. Interestingly, for example, cadeira is what they refer as chair in Portuguese, and it is caseira in Malayalam. Mesa, table, in Tamil we call it as mesai, mejai. Chabi, chavi. Janela, janal. So there are a lot of similarities between the languages. And we know the trade between India and the Portuguese, the connections between mango and cashew, etc., all that we know. And gir cow, we know gir cow. Krishnakumar Ji is also a very very fond of these desi cows and things. He was talking about this many times. Gir cows, what we have in India, Gujarat, we have the similar gir cows in Brazil. And this is a beautiful correlation that in 1940s, a Maharaja named Krishna Kumar Ji. Krishna Kumar Ji had sent gir cows to Brazil in 1940s. A Maharaj of a small town in small place in Gujarat had sent a shipload of gir cows, and that is how gir cows are seen. There is the Desi gir cow is also seen in Brazil. So this is a connection that we have noticed. There is a huge scope to manufacture medicines in Latin American countries, including Brazil, Chile, Argentina, almost all the Latin American countries, because of the availability of medicinal plants. So whenever we think about globalizing, medicine shortage and medicine availability will be the biggest challenge. We are going to, I think in the next few years, or at least in another decade or so, there will be full-fledged manufacturing of medicines possible in Latin American countries. There is a huge potential for it. And there is a large community of serious and sincere Ayurveda learners in all Latin American countries, which is creating a voice in the governmental levels also. So even at governmental levels, there are a lot of changes that is happening in Brazil, Chile, and Argentina. I'm talking about Brazil, Chile, and Argentina because I've visited there a lot. So that's a reason I'm talking about these three countries in specific. The biggest advantage is the open-minded Western medical fraternity welcoming Ayurveda with utmost respect and regard. So, which is unlike India, where the medical fraternity is not that open for Ayurveda. It's a frank truth that the modern medical fraternity is not very much open for Ayurveda because there is a competitive nature, or there is a superiority that I'm superior and you're not. That kind of a thing is there, which is a frank truth. But that is not the case with the Latin American countries. And you could see a huge packed auditorium of 150 members. Dr. Lucia is also here witnessing this. It is her program which we organized in the University of Rosario Faculty of Medicine. 150 packed participants. And on the inaugural, Dr. Lucia is there in the photo as well. On the inaugural day, I think he's the Dean of Medical Studies. He gave an opening speech mentioning that their system, there is a block. They are at the end of a road. There is a roadblock. They don't know how to proceed further. We have to welcome Ayurveda from India to find ways to go forward, go further. This was the opening speech made by the Dean of Medical Studies on the day of inaugurating the 7-day course on Ayurveda in a medical university, National University of Rosario, which is a 100-year-old university, Faculty of Medicine. So it's a special honor for Ayurveda to hear this. At the same time, we can understand the openness. Same is the case with University of Santiago, Chile, Faculty of Medicine. They are open for Ayurveda. It's a 170-year-old national university. They are exploring the possibilities of bringing Ayurveda into their curriculum and bringing Ayurveda into the fore. So that's a great thing to witness, that the modern medical fraternity is open for such welcoming Ayurveda with great regard and respect. The challenges that we have noticed is language. Language, I would talk on two fronts. That is, for we Vaidyas, Portuguese and the Spanish languages are not that easy to pick up. But fortunately, we Indians have that knack of getting used with a language, or learning a language is not that difficult, because we are always easily conversing in 3-4 languages. So a fourth or a fifth language is not that difficult. So it's easy for us. But for Latin Americans, Sanskrit is not that easy. So we have to make it little more acceptable. It should not be hardcore Sanskrit. At the same time, I would like to register that there are a lot of students from Latin America who have taken up Sanskrit seriously, not just casual learning and reading Sanskrit, but a serious learning of Sanskrit with Vyakarana and things. So as I told you, even from the academic perspective, Latin America is going to be the next destination for authentic Ayurveda. So it will be good for the Vaidyas to be familiar with the Spanish and the Portuguese language if we are thinking about propagating in a stronger way. The negative aspect, of course, there are some negative aspects to it. I'm just bringing out the negative aspect with the intention of making a change or bringing about a change in it. There are some commercial aspects of Ayurveda in limelight in Latin American countries, and India is no exception. Even in India, we have these commercial aspects of Ayurveda popping up and being in limelight. The same is the case with the Latin American countries too. The problem that I see is people who start to learn Ayurveda, they start the learning process, they learn a bit, and the immediate intention is, how can I make use of it? How can I establish myself and call it as Ayurveda and do something else? This is there in India too, but in a growing environment of Latin America, this can be a challenge. So it is a responsibility of the Vaidyas to curtail this and nip it at the bud stage by promoting and propagating the authenticity of Ayurveda. And as people going from here to promote Ayurveda in other countries, we also should be careful of some safety and security issues that we could face in other countries. For example, I have been a victim of some small physical assaults in one of my visits in Brazil, a physical assault on me. It was a minor thing, but still, it was there. So we have to be careful. We have to be sensible about where we are, etc. We cannot take the liberty of what we enjoy. The liberty that we enjoy in India cannot be enjoyed in other countries. Of course, it is just in one city, one major city of Brazil. So that factor should also be considered. Allopathy medical doctors take an edge in Ayurveda in Latin American countries is what I've seen. That is, it has been presented in a way that yes, allopathy medical doctors can easily practice Ayurveda. So that's the edge that I'm mentioning. So this over a period of time it has not happened, but it's just a projection that may influence in the negative influence the holism of Ayurveda. That is, there can be one-to-one correlations. Okay, you have this problem, this can be a solution. That one-to-one correlations might come because of this is my suspicion. So it is our responsibility as Vaidyas in the part of the promotion and propagation of Ayurveda, take a check on this. And the westernized trendy lifestyle in the Latin American countries has made some deep-seated notion about some specific lifestyle changes, which is directly opposite to the advices of Ayurveda. For example, when we suggest people that Ayurveda's food habits, frequent meal shouldn't be there, you have to have your hunger before you take the next meal, but they have a strong notion that they have to take frequent meals every second hour, every third hour. So that strong notion, deep-seated notion from the trendy lifestyle that has been impregnated, it is difficult for a Vaidya to make this change. So time makes that Amapachana, of course. So again, we have a responsibility to consider this and take it forward to have more authenticity on this. So these are the small observations, and even in the context of challenges, I think I did a small justice of suggesting what could be our possibility of overcoming this challenge. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I hope I've completed on time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So your memories with Krishna Kumar Ji were very touching. And as you told, he is with us, with all of us.
True.
And
Exactly. Thank
it
you so much.
felt very promising that the Latin America is a good soil to sow the seeds of Ayurveda. And thank you all for making the soil very fertile with your heart. Hope that you will be with us online for the discussion session.
Definitely.
And once again, thank you. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Somit Kumar. Dr. Somit Kumar has completed his master in Dravya Guna, and he is currently pursuing the research for his PhD in the Department of Molecular Biology at University of Latvia. He is the director of Research Foundation by AVP, which has conducted many remarkable researches. He has been working as the principal investigator in an open label study to investigate the efficacy of add-on personalized Ayurvedic intervention in comparison to the standalone treatment based on ICMR guidelines done in the Stanley Medical College during this COVID time. He is also heading as the CEO and the managing director of AVP Baltics and has been active in his clinical research. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining with us, and we would be so excited to hear from you the possibilities and challenges of Ayurveda in Latvia. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rohini. Is it possible that I can share my screen, please?
Sir, please share the screen so that automatically
Okay.
yours will be the screen.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Just a minute. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I think I should not say, because I'm part of the whole dream of Krishna Kumar Ji, and what we are is a kind of offshoot of his own vision. So I consider him as a not only a mentor, but kind of a guru who teaches you how in modern materialistic world you can still live like a karma yogi. And that whole message from him was how to balance that nishkam karma. That means without getting involved in materialism, but still you can keep on acting in this world and balance spirituality and science together. And that's one thing which I have always imbibed from him, and that's why he's always with us, because he's not just as a physical entity to us, but he's like a thought which is deeply ingrained in our thought process, whether when we delegate as a physician or as a researcher or as a human, because at all these levels he had a very profound impact. So I would like to just share as to how this whole vision of his globalizing Ayurveda began in and shaped up as AVP politics. In fact, as Dr. Pirax had shared, that it was just an accidental visit by him where he came to Coimbatore, and we had an opportunity that one of his student wanted to do a MD thesis on diabetes, but the doctor wanted to do Ayurveda as one of the interventions. So they want, being an MD doctor, modern MD doctor, she wanted to work on Ayurveda intervention for type 2 diabetes. And in fact, she was trying before in other medical colleges in Coimbatore and other South Indian states, but she didn't get the kind of support what she wanted. And when she visited and met Krishna Kumar Ji, she asked for this. And I remember that time I just completed my master's degree and then came back to AVC as a full-time employee. And then he called me and then he said that, what can we do on this? And this is how the whole seed of our opportunities or ventures which finally fructified as AVP Baltics began. So it was an accidental, spontaneous thought, but how well he shapes up each initiative into a full-grown tree is what we have learned from him. So when we started this whole effort just as a clinical study, and then slowly, when Dr. Pirax got so impressed with the way Ayurvedic thought process works, he started initiating a dialogue with Krishna Kumar Ji of offering education of Ayurveda in Baltics. And this was one of his first step. And he instructed me that, can you take this challenge for some time and see, because I had more my own family commitments in India, and he just told, can we just see what we can do for Ayurveda education and spreading message of Ayurveda abroad in a more structured, institutionalized way. And that's where he told, can we create that niche? What should be our approach to create that ecosystem of Ayurveda abroad, where Ayurveda just doesn't go as a service or just as a education initiative or as a initiative for research, but can we create that holistic model? And that's where we sat together, we conceptualized the whole triad of sustainable vision for Ayurveda in Baltics first, and eventually now it's throughout Europe. His whole vision, of course, we have a lot of challenges. We have our own successes and failures, but it has slowly been spanning out in field of education, clinical services, and research. He always envisaged a concept of one-stop healthcare, where you don't just think about Ayurveda as a knowledge system, but also as a place where you experience holistic healing, and a healing which is not just based on certain assumptions, but also based on hardcore evidences and other allied sciences, which could add to this whole ecosystem of healing process. So he very frankly told us that, can we create an experience center, and a center where we integrate Ayurveda not just as some consultation or just some product? Can we also think about healthy food, healthy lifestyle yoga practices, as well as along with research and education together? And this is where we started building the whole network in EU. So a small attempt, which we started in Latvia, in Riga, slowly started in form of seminars, visits for the workshops in different countries. And I'm very gracious to God and vision of Krishna Kumar Ji that right now we have so many centers associated with, and our partners are active in different parts of Europe, be it Estonia, Sweden, Norway, Netherlands, Germany, Belgium, Luxembourg now, France, Switzerland, Slovakia, and Slovakia. Now, all these places, over last, from 2014, a relentless effort has been put into creating this whole network. And we are running with our partners different clinics, different education programs, and other activities. Is it something you want to tell, Rohini?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So what we have been able to achieve very much in through this effort is collaborative programs. So what we have realized is that unless and until we basically get into a collaborative effort, not just based on with universities or partners who have some clinics or some organic shops, but we have started working toward with European Union in different Erasmus exchange programs. These are European Union sponsored programs in where they are trying to create integration of different tradition, culture, thought processes across European Union countries, where volunteers from one country goes to the other country, comes to know about different traditions, socio-cultural knowledge about each other country, and where we have tried to, in Latvia, create an ecosystem of introducing also the concepts of Ayurveda. And as Dr. Parthasarathy was talking about, is localization of knowledge of Ayurveda. That means we were so surprised that the pre-Christian culture of Baltics was so similar to Vedic culture, where they do a midsummer night festival with a proper worship to sun, to fire, to air, to space, and to earth. And this whole culture of yajna is so much alive in these practices, which still the Baltic countries remember. Why? Because they feel so connected with this theory of Pancha Mahabhutas. And if you look at the whole diet, lifestyle, the Ritucharya, the seasonal, local seasonal diet, there is nothing which I didn't find which followed the concept of different rasas to be taken during different seasons. And this is what we started creating a localized understanding of Ayurveda, where we just take the basic principles of Ayurveda and explain their existing traditional practices as to what is the logic behind eating sauerkraut in the winter season, where you have to take amla rasa, and then go to taking radish and rucola leaves in the basically in the spring season when they are available, or dandelions which are available in the spring season. Why it is so, and why their local food habit is so much revolved around this plants and vegetables which are very seasonal, because these countries almost more than 6 months they are under ice, but then still whatever they follow had lot of theories of Ayurveda so ingrained with their socio-cultural structure. And this is what we started teaching to different people coming from different countries. And what was to our surprise that people started relating this knowledge system as a concept. That's like just the moves of the chess is fixed, but you can play the way you want. So they took the whole principles of basic principles of Ayurveda, and they started kind of, whether we got a volunteer from Slovenia, which is the Western European country, or whether we get Italian students, which again is South Western Europe. All these students find lot of kind of, consonance with the whole regional and local thought process. And that's what we have been doing as part of the Erasmus exchange programs. Apart from this, what we have been able to do is a lot of collaborative effort in terms of, because he always envisaged that if you have to bring or propagate Ayurveda very authentically, you need to create the right kind of resources in terms of human resource. And this is where he wanted us to collaborate with different universities, which will create right stakeholders, capacity building in terms of propagating authentic and scientific Ayurveda with the balance of spirituality. And that's why Dr. Pirax always tells us that what he has learned from him is he may know science, he may know a lot of things which matters about research, but what he has got from him is that that insight into spirituality. And this is where all our collaborations, which we started there, whether with the University of Latvia or Milan, we have seen a very important concept of holistic approach to understanding the Ayurveda as a holistic and integrative medicine system or integrative science of life. And whether it is our research with muscular dystrophy in Milan or 2 research projects, what we have done in Latvia, we have kept the whole concept of holism, and we have not gone in a drug or development pathway, or we have not gone to reductionist model of understanding Ayurveda. But what we need to address is also, in fact, when we are talking about products, it is not bad to propagate products, but we see a greater challenge as to products of certain categories. So what we see and what we have been now as a team in AVP Baltics or AVP institutions and all our sister institutions have been trying to approach in a more sustainable, eco-friendly products and initiating a proper recognized and authorized sales and distribution of this product through proper stakeholders. And this is where we have been able to develop, and we have been able to also register products in Latvia. Few of our products on diabetes and arthritis. And what we have also developed is a very unique model of the compounding of herbs. So you take individual herbs and compound according to the individual needs of the patient there. And this is where this is another area of innovation. He was so passionate about it that he always kept on saying us, please see, whatever herbs we take from India is fine, but then can we use local herbs of which are available there in Europe as part of our whole service? And we have been able to develop how we have been integrating nettle with amalaki powder or andrographis with inula powder there. Or we have been seeing a lot of endangered herbs which is there in, like inula, pushkar moolam in India is endangered, but it's easily found in Latvia or other countryside of the northeastern Europe now. Or mumio, silajatu, what do we say? It's very much popular. Or gorochana. I was so intrigued that gorochana, the cow's bile, was long used for tuberculosis in Russian countries. Now, these are some things which we have been, when we go there, we understand, and we are trying to create that ecosystem where what is available local, how can we optimize based on the principles of Ayurveda. And similarly, we are doing a part of our whole effort in Turkey with this similar model. Slovakia, Dr. Dinil is doing an excellent job. In fact, he has learned Slovenian language, and he is now one of the first registered folk traditional practitioner. Of course, their registration is folk traditional practitioner after learning Slovakian language. So what I'm seeing is he had envisaged this kind of dream, and he took the right stakeholders and who has been taking the challenges and delivering his vision there. And of course, we are looking towards a big way in telemedicine and e-commerce in future in Latvia as well as throughout the Europe. And we see all these areas where we see future development will happen. And we have been Slovakia, Slovenia, these all things have been already realized. In Sweden, it is realized. So it's not that what we had envisaged we have been able to fulfill in spite of this COVID disruption. We have been able to continue this ecosystem. So he wanted to create this whole wellness ecosystem. That means people who want more deeper, real Ayurveda therapy, which is not possible in European regulations, can come to India to experience it. So he also was so much instrumental where Navakare or Mangre was always a part of that whole ecosystem where people from all these countries keep on coming for their health needs. As a part of our research initiative, what we did was, since AVP Baltics is a small and medium enterprise registered as a part of our AVP group of companies, we wanted to test whether we can get into research. And this is where, through a small and medium enterprise research and development program, EU funded us with a grant where 50% of the money was borne by AVP Baltics and 50% by EU through Latvian University to develop a basic idea into can it be upscaled to a product, and can it be, so of course there is commercialization involved with it, but with a lot of scientific background evidence. And when this opportunity came, he immediately came up with idea of why not we try one of our external application, which can be easily scaled up. And then we, as a part of that, we took a Jate Adi Tailam, which is a wound healing model, kind of a wound healing product. Especially we use it in chronic wounds and diabetic ulcers and all. And we started the whole process of reverse pharmacology, because we know that it heals, but how it heals, we have to create that evidence and then create a right kind of evidence for the regulators to accept it to a level of product. And I'll be very happy to share with you that recently the first paper from this research has been published by evidence-based complementary and alternative medicine as a part of our multidisciplinary team, including University of Latvia, Biomedical Research Center, and our AVP Research Foundation and AVP Baltics team. As a part of the whole effort to also take stakeholders from Ayush along with the whole effort, what we done, we wanted to mainstream. So in fact, in spite of AVP Baltics being there, we worked with institutions like Ayush in order to start a officially recognized Ayurveda chair. So Latvia has become one of the first in North European countries to start a Ayurveda chair, and we have 2 of them already visited Latvia. So Dr. Mahapatra was our first Ayurveda chair, and we have been very actively involving with them in propagation in terms of education. And now with the help of all this collaboration where Minister of Ayush, Sripad Nayak ji, and the whole team from Ayush visited Latvia, we signed the first ever MOU on a kind of collaborative research on type 2 diabetes. And we have reached a stage where now we are going to implement it. The signed MOUs and money has been transferred to Latvian University, and we are hoping to start that first ever a RCT, randomized clinical trial with a crossover design on type 2 diabetes, which will be done in Latvia. And we were very fortunate to have in Riga along with, and just see the whole effort. Our clinic is based in a temple, a Krishna temple. They have been gracious enough to associate with us for right from the inception. And we are very thrilled to see that what models can work. Now, we have never thought that we don't have all the medicines prepared there. So we are very small team, but we make kashayams there locally. We make ghrithams there. We make different powders there. During Corona period, when we had so much of lockdown, we even used our restaurant, which is health food store. I was telling you, healthy food. We made a lot of posters, information material as to how spices and different herbs, which are common in your day-to-day life, can improve your immunity or help you to scale down the ill effects of infection. So we have been working relentlessly and with common herbs there, and some Ayurvedic herbs, we made us very antivirus mixture. And we are so surprised that right now it's been going throughout. In first 2 months itself, we sold 250 people this packet. And now it's 1.5 years over. It's become that everybody knows that in AVP Baltics, there is something which can help you to improve your immunity against virus in both Latvia and Lithuania. So what in conclusion, which we see as an opportunity is we need to create this unique model, what he envisaged, a vision for education, research, services, and product together. And what we need to do is we need to create the right stakeholders. So it should definitely start with education, as we have seen, whether it is South America, Latin America, Europe. We have taken this route and we have tremendous response. So there's no doubt that we need to first educate people, make them aware about this science, and then do right kind of research, association, and then services, and then finally products which could give them a good quality of life. And I think what for years people couldn't do, or they are still envisaging or thinking of doing, he had very efficiently, subtly inspired all of us and be the backbone of these efforts. And we have been able, under his guidance, to create a model, a pilot. And what it requires is a bigger scaling up of this model. But unfortunately, what he could have seen in next 3 to 5 years, we lost him. But the thing is, the zeal, the inspiration, what is there as a part of his consciousness is never gone. So consciousness never dies. So he's always with us, reflected in us, and reflected through our efforts. And we are very committed to address all these opportunities as well as challenges. So challenges, when you talk about, when we have seen, if we have the right attitude, most of the challenges are kind of taken care of. So I strongly believe in his vision that if you are really committed to a dream will happen and come to life as a spontaneous process of events. And if you are very clear that you are committed to that dream, it will realize one day. And this was always used to tell us that you should have the right intention and effort. You don't have to just keep on running behind a success. Success will come behind you. And this is what he was, and this is what he wanted us to follow throughout our life. Thank you for this opportunity, for sharing my thoughts. And it was great that on his, tomorrow is his in fact, physical birthday, like, or non-Vedic birthday. And in fact, in one of his last conversations, I was in COVID ward, and after that, I never received a message back from him till I saw him in, I could see him in ICU for a very small time. But what he asked me is, my last message with him was, Somit, how many people have recovered with our Ayurveda intervention? So that is my motto, and that is our motto as an institution, that we keep on doing our karma. We don't wait for any laurels, but we keep on doing right karma, and nature will support us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the presentation also. It was very interesting to hear from you how an accidental meeting shaped up the whole AVP vortex. And this is what Krishna Kumar Ji is. He constantly worked with his vision, which made him a Karma Yogi. Very interesting presentation, sir, and it is really a great initiative from your side in exploring the right evidence-based research, even outside the India in its pure form. Please be online with us for the further discussion session. And next, I would like to invite Ms. Margaret Mota to the session. Ms. Margaret has been associated with our institution for a long time. She is a well-known face in the Ayurvedic teaching community in Brazil. She is the director of ISA, the Ayurveda school in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and the director and producer, Ayurveda A Cura Possible, A Possible Cure, and also the organizer of ILA, Latin American Ayurveda Conference in Sao Paulo. Please share your memories with Krishna Kumar Ji and also your thoughts on setting new paths for Ayurveda in the Latin American countries. Over to you, ma'am, please.
Namaskaram. Namaskaram to all. It's an honor for me to share this platform with such a distinguished speakers. Can I share my PPT, Dr. Rohini?
Yes, please. Yes, it is clear.
Is it visible?
Yes, it is visible. It's very clear.
Before anything else, my pranams to Krishna Kumar Ji. It's an honor to participate on this program today and share some of our memories with him, and also what path we are thinking and working on Ayurveda in Latin America. Ayurveda in Latin America, in general in Latin America, is, in my opinion, is still starting to crawl. We are young in Ayurveda. It's less than 40 years, 30 plus years. So we are still in the very beginning of our journey. And Krishna Kumar Ji made a total difference in Ayurveda in Latin America when we got in contact with the EPP, we got in contact with Krishna Kumar Ji, and we started being guided by him. I asked permission to share this memory with him. This photo was taken on the day that I interviewed him for the documentary, Ayurveda A Possible Cure. And with no doubt, this documentary was only possible because of Krishna Kumar Ji's blessings and also because of his support and his guidance. And when I had this crazy idea of making a documentary, I'm not a filmmaker, and I had never done a documentary before, but I had this dream to have ways of propagating Ayurveda in Brazil and in Latin America as a whole. And then I told Krishna Kumar Ji about this idea of making a documentary. Actually, I want to make a documentary about him, and he said, no. That's okay, I'll make a documentary about Ayurveda. He said, okay. And then he didn't ask me what was my background in movie making. He didn't ask me if I had any previous movie or documentary. He just asked me, what do you need? And he made it possible. He put the resources, people, organized the whole thing. So the documentary was possible to be shot in India. And I have absolutely certainty that the documentary was only possible because of his grace, because now I understand that making a movie takes time and is very costly. And we started this process with zero money, and usually take years to make a movie. And from the moment that we went to India to start filming and to the moment that the film was launched was less than 1.5 years. So this is really fast for movie making. And I'm sure that was his grace. So thinking about setting new paths for Ayurveda in Latin America, just to have a little bit of background here. Latin America is a very big region. We are 20 countries, about 586 million people, and we speak many languages. Mainly Spanish and Portuguese. When we say many languages, because we have many indigenous people, many indigenous nations, and they speak different languages. But with 2 languages in Latin America, you can go by. Actually, just with one, if you speak Spanish, we can go around, because in Brazil, we can somehow understand Spanish, because we have so many countries that speak Spanish that border Brazil. And we have to also to think that with all these indigenous nations that we have here, we have our local traditional medicines. The indigenous nations, mainly shamanism, and also they use the plants in their sacred rituals and also in treatments. Latin America also has a huge amount of Afro-descendants that they use also in their rituals and also for treatment, the plants. And also we have the Europeans that came from different countries in Europe, and there was a miscegenation with our indigenous people and the Afro-descendants that have the knowledge about also plants. So there is a lot of knowledge already here. So that's why Ayurveda in Latin America is something that we very easily can fall in love, very easily we can understand, because it's very similar to what we think our traditional medicines think about health. And here some of a few of the nations, indigenous nations in Latin America, and also a few of the Afro-descendants, and they all, as I said, have knowledge about the use of medicinal plants in rituals or for treatments. And right now in Latin America, the countries that Ayurveda is a little bit ahead is Argentina has the academic recognition. Dr. Lucia is going to talk more about this, certainly. In Brazil, Ayurveda is accepted in the public health system. In Brazil, we are 213 million people, and almost 70% of the population make use of the public health system. So Ayurveda being the public health system is huge for us. In Colombia, there is a law that's called the Law of Human Talent in Health, that they accept the integrative and complementary medicines practice and Ayurveda too. In Costa Rica, the registration of Ayurvedic medicine is possible. In Cuba, there was the approval in 2018 for the Ayurveda to be practiced also in the health system in Cuba. And in Nicaragua, Ayurveda is recognized, is accepted as a health system. And here is the Ayurveda Center in Cuba. It's a Panchakarma center. It was inaugurated in 2018. As far as I know, that's the only public health Panchakarma center in Latin America. I have no notice of any other places. And also Cuba, like any other Latin American country, has plants that are similar to Indian plants, and some are including the same, also some vegetables and fruits. So it's easy for us to understand Ayurveda. The other thing that we have to think about when we think on promoting Ayurveda is about literature, about books that can help us understand Ayurveda. And since we're still in pandemic, this Ayush protocol is something that helped us a lot. It was translated into Portuguese and into Spanish. And it was widely distributed in all the Ayurveda schools in Latin America, and also by the consulate and by the embassy. And we always thought in Brazil, in some countries here in Latin America, that was an obstacle for us not to be able to have the Ayurvedic medicine to import, because there are regulations, it's complicated. But now, looking back, I think it's also a blessing that it was not allowed yet, because not being able to import easily the Ayurvedic medicine, we had to use what we have here, our own plants, and have to learn how to use them. And also how we could use simple things in Ayurveda, like the diet and changing lifestyle. And it's amazing how much we can do with just these simple things that we can incorporate in our own lives, and also help the student or our patients to incorporate in their own lives, and to be healthier or to recover their health when they get sick. In this protocol, here it's very small, you cannot read, but it's about some plants that are in the Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia, and that we can find here in Latin America. Here, mainly because the protocol was in Spanish and Portuguese, it's mainly for Argentina and Brazil, but here we have the botanic name and the names that we use in our countries, and how easily they are found. Some of them, they are found here since the beginning, was not imported, was not brought here by the immigrants. So there are lots of plants that are common. So there's a lot that we can do using our own plants. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about Brazil specifically, because that's where I live and where I work. In 2006, the Brazilian government approved a law that is called the National Policy on Integrative and Complementary Practice in our public health system. That included many practices, traditional Chinese medicine, homeopathy, and etc. The first ones that were accepted were these ones: only traditional Chinese medicine, homeopathy, medicinal plants, thermalism, and anthroposophical medicine. Then in 2017, the government increased the number of practices that was accepted, and Ayurveda was one of them. So there is this bill that was passed in March 2017, allowing Ayurveda to be practiced in the public health system. And then, since it was approved, so from 2017 to 2019, there were more than 2,500 people that were attended with Ayurveda in the public health system. The public health system in Brazil includes public hospitals and small public clinics. In the system in Brazil, we have a system where in the neighborhood where we live, there must be at least one public clinic from the government. And and in the city at least one public hospital. In 2020, there was an MOU signed by the Ministry of Health in Brazil with the Ministry of Ayush for collaboration in traditional medicine. And this year, 2021, 2 universities in Brazil had signed an MOU, 2 public universities in Brazil signed an MOU with Ayush Ministry for research on Ayurveda, on medicinal plants, on COVID, and in other subjects. So I feel that we now are in a great moment for Ayurveda in Brazil and in Latin America. And the pandemic was not something that we could cheer for, but there were some side effects that were positive, like people looking for treatment in Ayurveda, people being more at home and using more what had at home for taking care of the health, and when had symptoms of COVID, mild symptoms, and also because of modern medicine not having the answers, not having all the answers for COVID, none of us have, but Ayurveda presenting many of these answers. So then, including our government, start looking at Ayurveda with different eyes. And there is this center, Unifesp. This is one of the public universities that signed an MOU with Ayush. And I study in, I'm doing my master's degree in this university, and my master's degree is on medicinal plant. It's research on Ayurveda with our Brazilian native plants. What plants that are native, not imported, not exotic plants that we have in Brazil that could be used in Panchakarma treatments. And this study is being done in the center, that Center for Ethnobotanic and Ethnopharmacology Studies, that is part of this university. And in the ESA, School of Ancestral Knowledge, our students also, they are going to research. They study for 2 years, and in the end of the course, they have to present research they did on Ayurveda. Some will do on medicinal plants, some do in other aspects, but we started producing also some research that can contribute for the advance of Ayurveda in Brazil. And when I say that it's very easy for us to understand Ayurveda, is something that we can relate to, because our indigenous people, our indigenous nations, that's how they see. And there was in 2001 one a doctorate research with the Krao people. Brazil has more than 300 indigenous peoples, nations. Krao is one of them. And this researcher, she studied how they understood the plants. And there was something that struck her mind, is that they divided the plants into 2 groups, what they call wakamiye, that they're strong medicines, and katamiye, that are weak medicines. So the strong medicines are the ones that they grow or they blossom in summertime when the sun is very strong. And the weak medicines are the ones that they bloom or they blossom, they grow when it's the rainy season. So they say that the water dilutes the power of the plants. And in the same group of researchers in Unifesp, there are other 2 researchers that did their research on their master degrees in 2 quilombos. Quilombos in Brazil are these areas where the Afro descendant, they escaped from slavery, and they were hiding in this place in the forest or sometimes in the mountains, escaping slavery. So they had to take care of themselves when they got sick with the plants that were around. In these areas, usually there were also indigenous people, so there was like an interchange of knowledge. The knowledge that they brought from Africa with the knowledge that they got in this interchange with the indigenous people. And in their study, they in these 2 different Colombos, close to each other, but they're different. And they realize that these people, they also classify their plants like hot and cold. So depending on the disease or the health problem the person has, they'll see that they're going to give a plant that is hot in potency, or if it's cold in potency. And they understand that health is when they balance the opposite characteristics. And the other thing that they found very interesting is that all the medications, the proportion of the plants and the combination of the plants is totally individualized and cannot be the same for everyone. And they also understand that prevention is better than cure. It's very Ayurvedic way of thinking. And my research for my master's degrees is also in these two quilombos, to find the native plants that can be used in Ayurveda. This is a study that a student of mine did, where she compared ashwagandha with 4 Brazilian native plants. And she found like some similarities, and thinking on how can we use these plants, thinking in Ayurveda, but using our own plants. So this is a research she did, and there are another student now in ESE, continue going further in this study, finding other plants. The other thing that we do here to propagate Ayurveda and in the right way, I told about it, the documentary Ayurveda Possible Cure that was shot in 2015 and launched in 2016. It was a big part of this documentary was shot in Tamil Nadu, in Mangarai, Navakarai, and in Kerala. It was seen by more than 3,000 people by now, and we toured the country in 2016, 17, 18, making exhibitions of this documentary. And this year, because of the pandemic, we did online screening, and the state government has a program that's called Culture at Home. It's a 30-day online program, and they asked us to screen for 30 days continuously this documentary. So we got lots of people interested, more people interested in Ayurveda and in the documentary. The other thing that we also try to do is to have conferences and congresses where we can get together and see how we can collaborate with each other. In 2018, there was a big conference organized in Rio by the government. There were more than 5,000 people in this conference. And inside of this conference was a conference for complementary and integrative practices. And inside this huge conference, there was a conference on Ayurveda. And there were more than 2,000 people in this Ayurveda conference. In 2013, there was another conference also connected to the Ministry of Health that was in the center of Brazil. And in 2016, there was the Latin American conference organized in Rosario by Dr. Carlos Chesta. And when the conference finished, he asked me to, in 2017, to take over and to do it in Brazil. So since 2017, we are organizing in Brazil. And last year was the first time that we did it online, and was a tribute to Krishna Kumar Ji. So every year that we had the conference, Krishna Kumar Ji always sent a doctor from AVP to participate in the conference. And also we are really grateful for all the doctors that have come here from AVP to help us, to teach us, to guide us. And I'd like to thank Dr. Indulal, Dr. T.S. Krishna Kumar, Dr. Parthasarathy, Dr. Paritosh, Dr. Aruna Mudiri, and Dr. Varsha Santosh that have come along these years and help us to be in the right path with Ayurveda. This is the conference in 2018. It was in a big auditorium here in São Paulo. And from my understanding, I always thought that Ayurveda is very similar to our practice. And once talking to Krishna Kumar Ji, and I had this dream that I'd like to study Ayurveda in India, and he told me, you have to study in a Gurukulam system. So when Gurukulam system is back, you can come and study. In the meanwhile, you have to study with your indigenous people. And also this event went forward, the Latin America Ayurveda Conference, also with the inspiration of Krishna Kumar Ji and with his blessings. And we started having the conference with Ayurveda, Vaidyas, and doctors and professionals, and bringing our indigenous people and our quilombolas also to participate. So in this event here is in 2018. In this image here, Dr. T.S. Krishna Kumar was speaking. And as you can see, these indigenous people, they came from the Amazon. It was a long trip for them, it was a 5-day trip, even that they took a flight, but there was boat, road, and flight, and etc. And when this lecture finished, they came to me. I was sitting on the other side, and they came to me, and this lady here, she's the niece of the shaman. She was crying, and she could not pronounce the word Ayurveda. It was difficult for them to say Ayurveda. She said, I don't know what this Ayurveda is, but what he's saying, exactly what we do in our community, is exactly what we practice. And she said, please bring them. Please bring these Indian doctors to the Amazon. Let's do something together with our indigenous shamans and their knowledge, and let's share, let's work together. And this was supposed to happen in May 2020, but then the pandemic hit, and the conference was postponed for when it's possible. And here is Dr. Rajagopal, that was sent by the Ministry of Ayush. He is from the All Indian Institute in Delhi, and he was one of the speakers in the event. And this picture is also in the event. This is the second day during lunchtime. This shaman here, he came all the way from the Amazon, and was a very long trip for him. So in São Paulo is cold compared to the temperature in the Amazon, and he got a little bit of fever and a little bit of flu. So during lunchtime, we were all sitting having lunch in the restaurant, and someone told Dr. T.S. Krishna Kumar that the shaman was not well. Then he pulled his chair immediately right there and did like a consultation to the shaman, called me and gave me a list of plants that I should go and get. I asked someone to go to the market and get it. And then he told us how to prepare the medicine. And we gave, and next day the shaman was very happy, and he was well, and was an amazing connection that the Dr. T.S. Krishna Kumar had with this shaman and with the indigenous people. This was not the only nation that was there. There were also Tupi Guaranis, there were other nations that were present in the event. I'd like to thank for this opportunity, and I also would like to conclude saying that we have many challenges ahead, but we have also many opportunities. As Dr. Parthasarathy said, I really think that Latin America has a bright future in Ayurveda, and Brazil. That's where I live and where I teach and work, and I see that people are really enthusiastic, and people really take Ayurveda seriously. They really want to study. And when we have the chance that we go to India to study there, I think the doctors that are here have seen how Brazilians are happy when we're in India. We really feel at home. And we have this joke that Brazil first home and India our second home, and the home of our heart. And I'm absolutely sure that from now on, Ayurveda is getting has a big momentum, and what we have to do is to work more on research and collaborations. And since there are already two two MOUs signed with two public universities in Brazil. There are others that are looking for institutions in India and the support of the Ministry of Ayush for signing MOUs. There is a lot of research going on Ayurveda here right now. So I think we really can do a lot if we are together. And once more, when Krishna Kumar Ji was physically present, he was always guiding us in the right path. And we are absolutely sure that he's guiding us still, and he'll continue guiding us. And as our commitment to him, would like to do the best work possible to take his mission ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for the detailed presentation. It was really interesting to know how authentically you are following the Ayurveda and doing the research in your herbal flora. Thank you once again. We'll be over to you in the discussion part. And now we are having with us Dr. Lucia De Vincenti to share her views on Ayurveda in Argentina in terms of practice and education. Dr. Lucia is an Ayurveda expert and teacher and a preacher of Ayurveda. She has been associated with Krishna Kumar Ji and AVP for many years. She is a teacher in Agneya, Argentina, which gives traditional and authentic Ayurvedic studies. And also she is a faculty of medical science at National University of Rosario, Argentina. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Namaste a todos los presentes. Larisa Ambrosio, que está presente en la sala, va a traducir. Estoy muy feliz de estar aquí. Sé que todo esto es la obra de nuestro querido maestro Krishna Kumar Ji.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I'm Larissa Ambrosio. I'm going to translate what Dr. Lucia has already written to share with you today. And she's greeting you all and immensely happy for being here with all of you because she knows that even this meeting today is the result of Krishna Kumar Ji's work. So it says.
Feliz de ver en la sala al doctor Parthasarathy, uno de mis primeros maestros, junto con nuestro maestro, con la doctora Varriar, el doctor Indulal, la doctora Sarania, y cada uno de los médicos y médicas que nos acompañaron en este conocimiento de la Ayurveda en AVP.
And I'm very happy to see here today Dr. Parthasarathy, who was one of our first teachers, together with Dr. Sarania, Dr. Varsha, Dr. Indulal, as she said, who were our teachers, or the first one to introduce us into the world of Ayurveda.
Feliz también de ver a Margaret, compañera de caminos en América. Un gusto que estemos nuevamente juntas, Margaret.
And I'm also very happy to see you here, Margaret, we are like companions in this path, so I'm very happy to see you here.
También sentí feliz de escuchar las palabras del doctor Parthasarathy y haber coincidido en algunas posturas, y me dice, bueno, se ve que he sido buena estudiante.
And I'm also very happy to be able to listen to what Dr. Parthasarathy said, and we coincide in certain points of view or aspects. So that makes me think that I've been a very good student so far.
Discúlpenme por no haberme dedicado a incorporar el inglés en mi lenguaje. He estado muy ocupada difundiendo la Ayurveda. Larissa va a leer mi escrito.
And I apologize for not being ready to speak English yet, but I'm very busy. I have been very busy promoting Ayurveda. So now I've written something that Larissa will read for you.
Gracias a todos.
Okay, thank you all. Good evening to all of you. I'm immensely happy to be a part of these tributes, and at the same time, in my heart, I still feel the absence of dear Master Krishna Kumar Ji. Absence that is relieved only by the memory of his teachings. The first time we spoke in person, he asked all of us, "How did you like India? Would you stay here to live?" We all answered yes at once, and he answered back to us, "Well, maybe you shouldn't, because if you do, you won't be able to continue with your mission, which is to spread this knowledge in the world." His absolute surrender without distractions, his humbleness, simplicity, and detachment are everlasting inspirations. His usual greeting, "Do not forget to be happy," is a teaching for each moment of our lives. Every time we had the opportunity to be in India, if there was a difficulty or one of the groups was unmotivated, his response was always a celebration, gifts, and he even came personally to take charge of the situation, despite his tight agenda or his health problems. He left us a lifted legacy, and that is my greatest inspiration. I want to share with you today the immense happiness of personally experiencing the expansion of Ayurveda day by day. My work has reached the Spanish-speaking community comprising South and Central America, as well as Spain, Italy, and France. And this is due to the Ayurveda course we are offering in the Faculty of Medical Sciences in Rosario, Argentina, a university which goal is to promote ancient knowledge about health so that the training of the medical students and also graduates is enriched with this knowledge. This opportunity is allowing us to reach health professionals and especially doctors who have approached us with special interest, aware of the limitations that modern medicine has in certain areas, and passionate about the empowerment that their very knowledge has if they apply the logics of Ayurveda. We are aware that Ayurveda cannot be taught in a course only, that this is just a transition, that we are mere links today to disseminate this knowledge in the world. In Agneya, we pursue the purpose of creating an Ayurveda training as a medical career somewhere in the Spanish-speaking community, so that trainees become Ayurveda doctors. And this is no longer just a dream, because that moment is closer and closer every time. As a consequence of the world situation during 2020 and 2021, I proposed a worldwide diffusion of Ayurveda for Spanish-speaking aspirants, together with other people interested in learning more about Ayurveda. And we did it online. Without this worldwide lockdown, it wouldn't have been possible to offer this online training, following your guidance, influenced by the Gurukula method. But this situation encouraged me to relax my mind and to respond to a situation that showed that there was an existing need of this, taking into account the number of people who joined. We reached 250 people over 24 countries of the Spanish-speaking community, living in different corners of the world, many of them where Spanish is not spoken as the first language. Many of the students are from Central America and Spain. In Central America, there is a great tendency to practice ancestral medicines that are sustained over time, and there are laws that support them. There are countries where there are integrative medicine centers where Ayurveda is included. This lets us see the not very distant possibility of starting a training Ayurveda course for future practitioners. The inspiration received by our beloved Master Krishna Kumar Ji was to continue with the propagation of Ayurveda, being faithful to its essence. Because when we do it like he did, with simplicity, joy, and love, aware of our legacy and with responsibility and respect, free of expectations, just aware of our mission, all doors open. We move forward and everything naturally expands, because Ayurveda needs nothing more than to be known in its simplicity, as Dr. Parthasarathy always told us, simply, and then just to fall in love with it. Simple and complex at the same time, for sure. Back in 2011, when I came back to my country after my first visit to India in AVP, my mind couldn't stop thinking that this course I had received in Portuguese had to be done also in Spanish, and that each activity should be done in a house of high studies where I was awarded my medical degree, because my colleagues had to know the root and origin of the knowledge they already had. Every new start is sometimes hard, it sounds odd, always the same question, but is this scientific? But our respect for this knowledge, the presence of AVP and SciGram representatives who are guiding us from the very beginning, have made it possible for our path to be respected every step of the way. Today, Ayurveda formally is recognized as a postgraduate training and in undergraduate training in Rosario, Argentina. And high chances are of even better opportunities open up in other American countries, apart from the spread it also in Europe. In Europe, they are revisiting the whole theory of Hippocrates, Galen, the Minerva Garden, amazed by its clarity, and also amazed about how similar they are to other ancestral thoughts, especially Ayurveda. I believe that the more faithful we are to the essence of Ayurveda, the more chances there will be to reach and ignite the passion of other health professionals and the population, for them to choose for this change for their lives. And this will be possible if we manage to show its simplicity and complexity at the same time. In these 10 years, I've learned from you, my teachers from India, to respect the ancient texts. I constantly make my best to remain faithful to them, and I wish that you do the same. That is the key of our mission. As this knowledge was looked for by sages who observed that people were not happy, that they were losing their spiritual essence, we can see today that more people than we can imagine are trying to recover the spiritual side of them, and they are working for that. Our young and children will be our legacy. Our great responsibility is not to be distracted by the shorter paths. Let's not lose the essence. It is the most important moment. Let us remain strong and do not let ourselves to be blinded by success. It's not about being modern, but being an integral part of the whole. I'm happy to be just an instrument in this broadcast. I deeply thank you all, to my teachers, and in particular, our great and inspiring Krishna Kumar Ji. I would like to finish my reflection, or I wouldn't like to finish my reflection without sharing a special request. Including Spanish in the activities that you organize is of vital importance. I asked the same thing also during the last Global Ayurveda meeting. Spanish is the second mother tongue language in the world and the third most spoken one, in addition to the growing number of Spanish speakers interested in Ayurveda is growing every day. So with this, I will finish. I will thank you all again. Namaste. And if there is a Q&A session, I will be open to answer questions. Thank you.
Very interesting to hear that Ayurveda has been legally associated in the medical education and also with keeping all its values. Thank you, Dr. Lucia ma'am, for joining us. And also, I would like to thank Dr. Larissa for joining us and for translating Dr. Lucia's thoughts to us. Thank you, both of you. We'll be heading over to you in the discussion part. So next we have with us Ms. Leila Disa from Chile. Ms. Leila is a true aspirant of Ayurveda, and she is the director of Ayurveda School, Chile, and a teacher of Ayurveda and Yoga. I invite you to this session to hear from you the inspirations of Krishna Kumar Ji in your Ayurvedic journey, and also about the propagation of Ayurveda in the Chile, along with its possibilities and challenges. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello, everybody. I am chair my presentation. 1 minute, please.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for opportunity this presentation. In memory, thank you, Shri Krishna Kumar Ji, for having been a Godmaster. Thank you to all the organizers, masters, and friends. For people that do not know, Chile is a very narrow country located in South America next to Argentina. And I show this graphic for imagining the Chile is a little country, but it's a big practice Ayurveda now. And when I arrived to Chile, there were only 3 places practiced Ayurveda, and then Ayurveda was born in 2008, and we are 4 schools. Then in 2010, we had the honor to choose from my partner and friend to know Krishna Kumar Ji and team of AVP. Um, 2010 to 19, after being with Krishna Kumar Ji and work along with him, our ways of teaching change. And 2008 to 2020, we are proud to say that Ayurveda Chile, we have graduated hundreds of students. And the studies from India, part of our group, of our program is to travel to India once a year. So students can experience the life of true Ayurveda there. Actually, 2021, current, we have more than 50 official places teaching Ayurvedic traditions. Today, hundreds of students practice and promote Ayurveda in Chile and South America. Example, Mexico, Colombia, Bolivia, and other places. The challenge of us is, together with our partners, continue promote Ayurveda throughout South America to carry out its teaching to the greatest number of people possible. And then back to India, AVP group with our student again. Thank you, Krishna Kumar Ji, and thank you all people from India, our masters. Without their hard work, this growth would not have been possible. Thank you for all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, and thank you for being with us so patiently all the time. And thank you, eminent doctors, for the very informative presentations. Let's clear some some more points with them. So in Latvia, we had heard about the possibilities of research and practice. The question is actually on the traditional medicine. So I think Dr. Vaidyaratnam sir and Dr. Sumit sir is with us to talk over that. How is the Ayurveda and the traditional medicine in this region related? And if it is not related, and how does it differ?
Professor Pirags, is he? I think I may just start the answer. Now see, as Professor Pirags was telling you that Ayurveda is recognized as a system, like, you know, as a methodology, where if you are a modern medicine doctor, already a MD in modern medicine, so you can read or have an education and abridge C course. It's called as a optional course, which you can take as part of your medical education, and you can with that limited knowledge you can use as a method, not yet as a prescribing as a doctor of Ayurveda, but as a method which you can practice. So in fact, we have a long way to go to create as efficient Ayurvedic doctors as what we do in India. But right now, but as per the regulations in Latvia, people who have done this a bridge course, they get registered by, again, a medical body in Latvia, which, you know, registered such students of modern, but then only those people who have passed their modern medical education can get registered as that. Now, if you look at indigenous practices of herbs, so we have been doing a little bit of documentation and going to different kinds of, Latvia University has an excellent library where there are a lot of documented herbs and monographs. So going through those literature, which we found as that there are a lot of such folk practice as part of their traditional herbal kind of practitioners they were doing before the modern medicine as a structured medical science came into being. And in fact, there are a lot of books being published in Latvian language, Estonian language, which has documented and one of the bigger, one of the main herbs which you can find out, I was surprised that vacha, Acorus calamus, was very well used even in kind of, Latvian old tradition as a local herb. That is nettle, that is Urtica dioica, which is Vrishchikali in Ayurveda, is been very well documented there. Like that, if you look at Ativisha and various varieties of Ativisha, had kind of, you have a lot of herbs from Ranunculataceae family. Coptistita is there. These are Mamira, what we say in Ayurveda, or even for Trayamana or Trayanti. We have been seeing those varieties in Ayurveda, which has been basically a Himalayan plant, but because of the geography and climatic condition, they grow in plains there because of the temperature, simple reason, temperature. So very interestingly, Latvian University has a botanical garden, and they have a special section on medicinal plants, and they have been very well maintaining it, and it's part very enthusiastically also practiced as a phytomedicine. Now, phytomedicine not as a structured Ayurveda science, but also phytotherapy, where Department of Botany as well as Department of Nutrition does some kind of courses also in phytotherapy. So right now, if you look at in traditional herbal medicine, kind of these are the avenues which we have seen that has been already practiced there. Yeah, but what with Krishna Kumar Ji's vision, what we had been emphasizing as to whether there can be collaborative, a kind of integrated Ayurveda medicine program, like where the scholars go through a very structured modern studies, modern medicine or anatomy, physiology, or pharmacology study, as well as they go through like how in before 1977 India also had this integrative medicine curriculum syllabus. So this has been a very long cherished dream, and we hope we are working towards that. And since the WHO has come out with a very elaborate practitioner guideline, which will be soon be made public also. So once the levels of education and levels of integration is defined, I think that would be a very welcoming change, where we want integrated syllabus, balancing both Ayurveda and modern science knowledge to be mainstreamed.
That was really interesting, sir, that to know the herbs which we are seeing here is there in those Latvian countries also. And thank you, sir, once again for joining us, and to the speakers from the Latin American side. During the talks, we came to know that the similarity of the climate and the landscapes of India and South America. Do you think that cultivation of Ayurvedic medicines is possible in that area, or using Amazonian herbs in Ayurvedic therapies? What all are the possibilities of like cultivation of these herbs in your area?
Is that a question for me, Dr. Rohini?
I think that you all can have an answer for that.
Okay, so I'll give my perspective here, and then our colleagues can do the same. It's absolutely possible, Doctor. We already have many plants that are the same, and they grow here. Some were brought in when the immigrants came, or the various waves of immigrants came, and others they are native here. And also there are lots of therapies. In Brazil, we have by now almost 10,000 Ayurveda therapists that were that studied in different schools here. Not all of them are practicing, but many hundreds of them are practicing, and many are already producing some medicated oil or medicated ghee. They're into studying our plants, and Brazil has 6 different biomas. The biggest one is the Amazonian, and maybe the most well-known or famous, but each of these biomas, they have different plants that are endemic only for that area. And in each of these biomas, we find plants that can definitely be used in Ayurveda. So it's possible also to cultivate them. Phytotherapy is one of the practice that is also into the public health system. So anyone that's into phytotherapy, they can understand about the use of plants. So understanding the use of plants in the perspective of Ayurveda, it's easier, because they already understand that plants are very important in the process of healing.
Thank you, Margaret Ji, and over to Dr. Lucia ma'am. What is your thoughts on that? Like in terms of cultivation of Ayurvedic herbs in Argentina?
Está silenciada, Lucy.
Disculpen, estaba silenciada. Con el estudio que hemos venido haciendo durante todos estos años, durante estos 10 años de las plantas, incorporando el método aprendido en el Ayurveda, hemos atravesado 2 instancias muy importantes. En primer lugar, ya tenemos más de 40 plantas identificadas que están descritas en el Ayurveda y que las tenemos en Argentina. Y cada año, al estudiar para transmitirlas, encontramos nuevas plantas en el intercambio con los maestros de India y nosotros, nuevas plantas que no se usaban o no se le daban importancia en nuestro país y que para el Ayurveda son importantes. Quiero decir con esto, llevamos encontradas más de 40 y creo que tenemos muchas más plantas en común que crecen naturalmente en nuestro país. Hasta allí, Hilary, después si querés digo algunas cosas más.
Sí. I say the first part of the answer. So taking into account the research that we've been doing in the last 10 years following the Ayurveda method of analyzing plants and their gunas, there are two very important things that I would like to let you know. That during this research, we have been able to identify more than 40 plants following the way that the way that Ayurveda describes them. So we got to know that we have at least 40 plants with the same properties. And due to the exchange that we do every day or year after year, we've been able to find out that there are a lot of plants that have medicinal properties, but maybe they have gone unnoticed in Argentina. So I would dare say that we have already identified over 40 plants with medicinal properties. Dale, Lucy.
Y en la extensión que hoy estamos haciendo en el abordaje del análisis de las dravias, con esta amplia población de estudiantes que hoy tenemos de Ayurveda en Centroamérica, en América Latina en general, gratamente hemos encontrado, como decían el doctor Parthasarathy, como decía el doctor Somit, que hay muchas más plantas y alimentos aún en esta zona de Latinoamérica, cuyo clima es más similar a India. Y es muy interesante el trabajo que estamos haciendo porque tanto en nuestro país, en Argentina, que es muy extenso, como en estos diversos países, una misma dravia tiene muchos nombres. Entonces estamos no solamente apropiándonos del método de análisis de las dravias de la Ayurveda, sino también haciendo una red entre todas estas personas, todos estos estudiantes de la Ayurveda, para ir descubriendo los diferentes nombres, como les pasa también a ustedes en India, los diferentes nombres que una misma dravia tiene en cada país, y los diferentes usos que vienen teniendo ancestralmente.
And also, due to this, we are applying in these training courses and with the students from all different places, we are applying the Dravya Guna analysis with students. And that had let us know or realize happily, as Dr. Parthasarathy said, and as Dr. Sumit Kumar said as well, that actually there are a lot of rare and numerous plants that share the same properties, and that due to weather and climate conditions, the better growth in the area of Central America. And which is also very, very interesting because in Ayurveda, that's in Argentina, which is a very vast country, we got to know that we share the same dravyas with different names in different areas or different countries in America. So what we're trying to do now is to build a kind of network where to explain, let's say, that the same plant has different names and different uses. So, and always we are basing this study in the way that we were taught to do by studying the dravyas or the guna of the dravyas or the plants.
Over to you, Laila ma'am.
Again, sorry.
Thank you. And over to you, Laila ma'am.
In Chile, there are many spices, among other herbs that we can use as medicine. According to Ayurveda, everything is Ayurvedic, and we make adaptations according to our country. We value traditional Ayurvedic herbs, but in Chile, we try to make adaptations with our local plants. And this is the practice because arriving in Chile, plants or herbs of other country is impossible. And here had many plants or herbs from India, but here is too much difficult use the phytotherapy because we need authorization, and normally we use the herbs of the plants through of ahara, or spice, or introducing our plants adaptation from to our people.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. P.R, sir, can you please share your thoughts over this topic, like associating this traditional medicines or traditional herbs in the mainstream Ayurvedic education level? Dr. P.R, sir? I think
he has OPD going on, so he's busy with his consultation. So
maybe, and I'm sorry that if I'm disturbing him.
No. I don't know, because he told that if he's not answering, he may be busy with the patient. That's why.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing the message. So over to you, Parthasarathy, sir. You are someone who has gone from India, so you'll be knowing more about this. And you were talking a lot about the medicines and almost the very interesting cultures or the language that you could find out.
Yeah, thank you. So regarding the medicinal plants, of course, as our friend Leila and our friends Dr. Lucia were mentioning, they have their own ecosystem. They have their own varieties of plants and trees. But we have also noticed that there are certain plants and trees which are really close to our Indian plants. For example, if I remember in one of my visits to Chile, we could see a neem tree, which was, the leaves were almost like our neem. It had a similar fruit, it had a similar bark. I would tell it was 90% similar to our neem. What is missing is someone has to validate that is it having those properties of neem or not, etc. Can give a potential medicine. There is a potential avenue for using that in Chile. Similarly, there are hundreds and hundreds of such plants and trees in South America, but most of it is concentrated in Brazil. We could see we have, it started in the year 2012, I believe. It was majorly done by our friend Eric and his students. They have spotted around 150 plants, which are exactly the same. That is, whatever that is available in India is available in Brazil, spotted in Sao Paulo and other regions. It was only in one region of Brazil. So if it could happen as an extensive research, I'm sure that there should be like thousands of plants which are similar in India and South American countries. When I'm talking about similar, they are the same plants with the same botanical name and same morphology and same taxonomy. Everything is same. So that is the reason for me to mention that there is a huge potential in South America to start with full-on manufacturing facilities. Already there are some small manufacturing and things happening in South America, but there is a huge potential to make it legalized and vast, so that South America or Latin America can be a hub for medicines or Ayurveda medicines, even to North America and other European countries.
Thank you, sir. I personally feel that the herbs in which the Ayurveda has explained would classically be written in a global perspective.
True.
Maybe we should research on individual herbs to find out which is the original source of it, which is having that exact Rasaguna Virya Vipakas, whether it is in a South American herb or in an Indian herb.
True.
So thank you all of you for joining with us, and thank you for this wonderful session. It's truly inspiring. Thank you all of you. Over to you, Dr. Shrija.
Thank you, Dr. Rohini. Dear speakers, we are honored with your presence, which itself enriched and enhanced our program. You shared how Krishna Kumar Ji influenced your life and moved you emotionally and spiritually, and we could have another glimpse of him through your memories. Your dedication to globalize Ayurveda in its most natural form will surely inspire our listeners and take Ayurveda forward. Thank you for joining us. Dear Dr. Rohini, thank you. You handled your session and your speakers beautifully. We once again bow to Krishna Kumar Ji's great soul. Thank you for everyone for joining PRACHAAR, organized by Ashirvad Health and Education Trust and Aryavaidyan Hospital, supported by the Arya Vaidya Pharmacy, Coimbatore Limited and Ayurvedic Pharmacy. We will continue tomorrow, same time, same place. Today's program will be available on YouTube of Aryavaidyan Hospital. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste, everyone.
Thank you all.